Hey guys, it's Daniel here with a new video, and today I'm going to be discussing the 8th episode of WandaVision. Oh my god, we're almost there, guys. Just one more episode, well, 2 more episodes. After I talk about this episode, then we'll have one more episode. But tomorrow is the release of the 9th and final episode, so, or at least I hope it is tomorrow, because I don't know if I'll get this video up today or tomorrow. So if I get it up tomorrow, then it might be on that day. But let's talk about the 8th episode, which in my opinion is the best one so far. So basically, the episode starts off with Agatha Harkness' backstory, because at the end of the last episode, if you can recall, Agnes reveals herself to be Agatha Harkness, and then we find out her backstory. We learn that she's been learning dark magic, but her people, including her mother, don't like dark magic, so they feel like she needs to die. So they try to kill her with magic, but dark magic that she has is too powerful and she kills all of them. And I will say this, it was kind of a little bit of a sympathetic backstory for the character, because despite being a villain, I do kind of feel sorry for how her mother almost screwed her over. And let me just say this right now, Agatha Harkness is becoming one of my favourite MCU villainesses ever. I mean, she was funny, she was entertaining, she was dark, she was menacing, and Catherine Hahn was perfectly cast as Agatha. I don't think I could see anyone else playing Agatha better than Catherine Hahn. I mean, where do I even begin? The whole show did a fantastic job building her up, because we had no idea that she was like one of the victims in this, and that she was trying to be the master of all this. Like, we had a feeling that she was just another person under a spell, but to reveal that she's actually the show's villain, I did not see that coming. I think she's one of the best MCU villains I've ever seen. But getting back to the episode, she cuts to the present where she's talking to Wanda, and she's asking Wanda, how did you do all this? And then you start to realise, wait a minute, Agatha wasn't all behind this? And Wanda doesn't remember how she did all this, so we get to the reason why this is my favourite episode of the show so far, because this episode is where we find out Wanda's backstory, her past. Oh boy, this is going to be cool. So first off, we cut to when she was a child living with her family, her parents and her brother Pietro. They're watching the Dick Van Dyke Show, which is one of the reasons why Wanda chose to have her life in the Hex as a sitcom. And then, right when they're watching the Dick Van Dyke Show, an explosion happens that kills their parents and leaves Wanda and Pietro alive with a bomb that's just about to blow up. But then, somehow, she had her magic the whole time, and she was able to use her magic to try and stop the bomb from exploding. So you're like, oh, she had her magic the whole time, did she? Pretty interesting. And let me just say, Wanda as a kid looks freaking adorable. It just looks so damn cute. But then, going back to the present, Agatha then takes her to her second trauma. And that's when she was in the facility before Pietro got killed. We see her going up to Loki's scepter, which is where the Mind Stone is at. Basically, she's walking up to the Mind Stone as a little experiment from a agency. She looks at the Mind Stone, and then it just blows up in her face. It turns to yellow, and then she sees her future self. Well, they do say that she's a Scarlet Witch, so there might be more Scarlet Witches, maybe that's one of them, but I'm pretty sure that's her future self that she sees in the Mind Stone's vision. And then you're like, oh my god! They actually sort of address it, like she saw what she would become, but she still had a little bit of practice to go on before she tried to become in the future. Another traumatic stuff that happened with Wanda, and then we cut to her watching a show. I think it's Malcolm in the Middle that they're watching. I've not seen the Dick Van Dyke Show or Malcolm in the Middle, so I don't know any of these shows. But she watches Malcolm in the Middle with Vision. it's just a sweet little moment that demonstrates Wanda's pure love for Vision. So it's just demonstrating Wanda's love for Vision, and you realise it is real. You felt the chemistry. I mean, yes, you felt it throughout the entire MCU, but you definitely feel it in this series because it's centering around them, and the past is when you really feel the love that they had together, which then cuts to the next scene after Vision's death, after the Avengers Endgame battle, where Wanda has just had enough and she wants Vision to have a proper funeral. So she goes to Sword headquarters to find Vision's corpse, which Director Hayward is using to make into a weapon. And she is distressed at first for not getting it, so she just goes up to it to say one last goodbye. She uses magic to try to feel him, but as her line says, she cannot feel him, so you definitely feel that her love for Vision is real. Like, she felt Vision throughout the entire MCU, but she's not feeling it now because she has Vision no more. This episode definitely is my favourite because we discover the full details of Wanda's backstory that makes us really feel sorry for her. We're sorry for what she went through, we're sorry for all the pain it was caused. You just feel it inside and you understand her actions, and yet you're still hatred to her actions. But because of this episode, I'm now feeling sympathy for her. I mean, I've always had, but you really feel it because we figure out her past, which then goes to the next scene. Now, throughout the show, like, after episode 5, we were concerned that Vision in the reality was a corpse. Boy, was I wrong! Because she went to Westview, but didn't take Vision's corpse. She never had Vision's corpse the whole time. Hayward lied about that. He had the corpse the whole time. So you realise that, okay, maybe he's not as good as the guy you think. Maybe he could be a villain. So, you start to get a bit of sense, but we'll talk about that when we talk about the post-credit scene. But she goes to Westview, where you see some of the neighbours that will become the characters. She goes to a spot where a house for her and Vision was meant to be, and it's like Sweet Home and all that, and there, she eventually creates the Hex. You see her burst down to the ground crying, holding her pain inside. She's culminating all of the stuff in her life. Sitcoms, the death of her parents, the death of Pietro, the death of Vision, all of her pain. She's culminating it in her power, and then she just screams in emotional rage, which, again, you feel the feels for her. You feel sorry for her. And then, she creates the Hex. She turns everything into a black and white sitcom. She creates the house. And surprisingly, remember when she saw the Mind Stone with all the yellow power? She had a bit of yellow power to create her own Vision. So she didn't use Vision's corpse after all, which I think is also a really good twist. Like, this episode basically, like, gave a bit of answers that I don't know if the final episode will give. So, it just had me curious to see the final episode even more, to see how they're going to wrap up her pain. But I think it's not going to, like, wrap up her story, because she's going to return in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So, I'm just going to have to wait and see. So, she creates the reality, she sits down with Vision, and then she just looks at all of this lighting, like all this movie filming lighting that makes it look like a sitcom, and this is one of the parts where I felt like Agatha is one of my favourite villains, because she's just like sitting in one of the audience seats by herself, and she just starts clapping like, bravo, bravo. I already found Agatha fascinating as hell. In fact, I think she might be the most memorable part of the show to me, because we had no idea of her true intentions throughout the entire show, and when we find out the twist, it's just awesome. And speaking of Agatha, she then uses her magic to go outside, and she starts torturing Tommy and Billy, the kids of Wanda. She's like holding them on leashes, strangling them, and then Wanda's trying to stop her, but then we get to the most iconic line in the entire episode. Agatha says, "You had all the power. You were supposed to be good. They said you were a myth, but here you are, using that magic to make breakfast for dinner. That is chaos magic, Wanda, and that is what makes you a Scarlet Witch." Wow. Oh my god, so many answers. Like, what's gonna happen? And speaking of answers, we get to the post-credit scene where you see Hayward with Vision's corpse. Like, oh, so he had Vision's corpse the whole time. But why? Well, it turns out that he actually took some of the magic power that happened on that drone from episode 5, and he used it to activate the weapon that they have created. A white version of Vision to take down Wanda. And you see that white Vision, it's just popping up, and that's when it ends. Like, wow! Okay, so I bet we're going to have Vision versus Vision, and Wanda's going to be fighting Agatha. So I bet this is how the ending's going to end. Like, I'm very curious about how it's all going to end, because one of the disappointing parts, like, it's not a disappointing part with the episode itself, but what they did with the episode, and that's the fact that this should have been a 10-episode series. Like, this episode happens, and then the last 2 episodes could have been just the 2-part finale, but it's really just, like, this is the second to last episode, and the last episode's gonna happen, but they kind of put in, like, more stuff to put in. Like, they just introduced the white Vision, and we only have an episode that's gonna be 50 minutes long to wrap everything up, so I'm kind of worried. Like, I hope they wrap it up good, because I'm still wondering how it's all going to end. So, let's hope that we'll get the best finale ever. Well, not the best finale ever, but one of them. But just something that's good enough to wrap up WandaVision. So, overall, this episode was my favourite of the show so far, because it focuses more on Wanda's backstory, and it made me feel sympathy for her. Definitely add up to why Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch, is one of my favourite MCU characters ever. So I cannot wait to see how the finale is going to wrap it all up. How is Wanda going to defeat Agatha? How is Vision going to fit in? How is the Hex going to stop? Is Wanda going to feel the pain by the end of the show? Is she going to learn to let Vision go and make way for the future? That's just... And the issue is, again, the finale is going to be a 50-minute long episode. I was hoping it would be like over an hour, so we've got to wrap things up, guys. Let's finish this up with a bang. So, what do you think of this episode? Do you like it? Do you hate it? And think the final episode is going to be a good finale? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm very excited how it's all going to end. It's almost done. Tomorrow, let's wrap it up once and for all. Anyway, I'm Daniel of movies, TV shows, doing videos. Subscribe, share, like, comment, bell notifications. Peace out, man.